Hello everyone, it's me, Ama Honkage. Uh, as you can obviously imagine, this is my presentation for this sort of event that we are doing, ain't it? It's really my first time doing something even remotely like this, so I'm sorry it's maybe not the best, I did what I could, and overall I think I did a good job, but do take that in mind. Now, when I started making the presentation, I wasn't really sure about what or sort of how to go about it. After all, crystals really gave us just complete freedom over it, which I'm thankful for. And I personally decided to go with the approach of it being both about Miku, as honestly a bit as the actual Miku, pretty much the program, obviously the Miku I gotten to know over the years, and a little about our relationship. Now, I took this focus mostly because I will say this is the reason we are all even gathered here or even doing this sort of event. And it's because we all have a waifu whom we love. And I think that's meaningful, and I would like to know about both your waifus and you yourself and the relationship that you all had. Now, going into the actual presentation, I decided which points I wanted to talk about and then gave each of them a sort of title, which is just sort of to give a general idea about what it's going to be about. And well, this is going to be really personal, and I just hope that by the end of this, maybe short, I'm a bit unsure about the length, maybe like half 40 minutes, something like that. Well, I just hope that by the end of it, you all at least had some fun, or maybe you found it interesting and got to know a bit about Miku and our relationship. So here we are at the first point. As you can see, the title says machine. I don't really like referring to Miku in such a way because she's obviously really just sort of humane to me. But it is appropriate and it works for this section because I'm going to talk Miku mostly as not really who I have gotten to know over the years, but the more literal Miku, that being pretty much a computer program that was released by a company, etc. So Miku was the first character of the character vocal series of Vocaloid 2, which was obviously preceded by Vocaloid 1. These series were the first voice synthesizers actually developed by Krypton, because while Krypton is really known for Miku nowadays, during the Vocaloid 1 era, they were mostly a company who worked with Yamaha to market and get English voices for their English voice banks back in the day, which was kind of the original vision of Yamaha when they released Vocaloid 1. Now, this series was supposed to continue what Yamaha actually started with Kaito and Meiko during the Vocaloid 1 era. This is mostly because Kaito and Meiko were the first Vocaloid or voice synthesizers, at the very least by Yamaha and Krypton, to actually have a sort of character or at the very least appearance tied to it. The first Vocaloid ones actually had no real art or anything, they were just voice banks. Now, Miku herself was unveiled on June 25th, 2007, with just her name, that being obviously Miku, being shown at the time, and her last name, Hatsune, being shown on July 7, 2007. The actual release of her V2 voice bank happened in August 31st, 2007. It was supposed to happen, I think, some days prior or like a week, but there were some problems with shipping, so it actually ended up happening on August 31st. The name of Miku actually has a meaning, or well, Miku Hatsune has a meaning, and it's composed of Hatsu meaning first, Ne meaning sound, and Miku can be written in a specific way to mean future or long time. Therefore, the name of Miku is interpreted or can be interpreted as the first sound from the future. This is a bit of sort of headcanon, but I do think that her name meaning this exactly was made as a reference to what Miku was originally going to actually be. So, at some undisclosed time, Krypton actually had the idea of giving Miku a sort of setting or lore. That will be that she's an android found during a future where music has been lost, and thanks to Miku, people can find out how beautiful music and singing is, and that was the sort of lore that they were intending. We don't really know a lot about this, because it's just something they had mentioned on interviews in the past. But this was actually, it wasn't just that they decided to not do it because for no reason. They actually wanted Miku to be more of a blank slate, so they actually scrapped this. But I do think that the meaning of her name can be a sort of callback as to that era where Krypton actually wanted to do that. Now, after the release of Miku, for the first few days or like a week, she was mostly used for covers, or well, at all. It was all just covers from like Japanese pop, electro songs. It was all covers. But just after a mere week of her release, the first original song with Miku was actually released. The name of the song is Meiwaku na Anata and was released on September 8, 2007. This was actually the short version of the song, which is just around like a minute and 30 seconds. The full version of the song was released around 2 to 3 days later. Actually, releasing short versions of songs first and then the full was actually a really common practice back in the day. It's really rare nowadays. But during 2007, even 2008, and the start of, Miku as a sort of phenomenon or character, it was really common. The reality nowadays is that Miku isn't really a Vocaloid anymore. Due to differences between the two companies, those being Yamaha and Krypton, Krypton decided to simply split from Yamaha and not make any more releases of their own voice band for the Vocaloid software itself, since Vocaloid is the piece of software where the voice band is actually used. Instead, they developed their own software called Pia Pro Studio. We don't have a lot of concrete information about this since neither Yamaha nor Krypton really made a big deal out of the whole split thing. And regardless, it probably happened in around 2019, maybe early 2019, mid 2019, since in the magical mirage of that year, which happened in August, at that time, Wataru Sasaki, who is a really important employee from Krypton, and he has been there pretty much since the original release of Miku on B2, he talked about the new software which they were working on, which is the Pia Pro Studio. So yeah, as of right now, Miku, Luca, Kaito, Meiko, Len, and Ren, they are all considered as characters from Krypton and Pia Pro characters, as they are usually called by the actual official media of Krypton, sometimes also known as Kryptonoids. While I say that Meiwa Kana Anata was the first original song released for Miku or by Miku, that's a bit of a lie. So let me properly explain this. While indeed Meiwaku was the first song made by someone who actually just, went by Miku and was like, oh, I'm going to make an original song, a completely new song that's not a cover. That's true, that will be Meiwaku. But Miku actually sang three original songs first, and those are the original demo songs for her Vocaloid 2 version. Uh, these were in this order they were released, and that will be Zero One Ballade, which was later released as a full song called Hoshino Kakera, Kakurembo being the second song, which is translated to Hide and Seek, and the third song simply named Pops. They are all short songs outside of the long version of Hoshino Kakera since they were just made to sort of showcase what Miku could do. But I do think that there is a tiny sort of detail that's really interesting to me, mostly probably because I'm a waifuist, but I do think it's worthy of note. And that's the case that Zero One Ballade and Pops are both like pretty much love songs, and due to the way they are written at the very least, I pretty much they feel extremely just as by me to the viewer, the watcher, or well, in this case, me obviously because I'm going to self-insert as one could expect, and I think this sort of fact, that two out of the three demo songs are love songs, first showcases simply well romantic songs has always been a really common on the world of music, but I do think that it maybe shows why they are so prevalent because to this day they still happen a lot and they were extremely common back in the day on 2007 and even 2008 because while Vocaloid is extremely known for songs such as the Watch by Wowaka and just dark songs in general, the whole thing. Um, Romantic songs are really common, And I do think that this sort of precedes that. This section is just really short and a bit sort of after the fact, but well, yes, Miku has no setting nor real lore. She does have a extremely tiny amount of canon information, which is as simple as like her size, weight, and age, which I'm going to be putting on a screen right now, but that's truly all. And I think it really goes to show that Krypton really wants Miku to just be a blank slate. They don't really mind if Miku has, for example, in Project Sekai, Miku has a personality, and there are sort of four or five OC Mikus which have their own personalities, and they don't really mind. But they have said directly that they don't consider Project Sekai to be canon, and this is just like something they've been always set in stone that Miku has no canon, and even things produced with or by Krypton are not real canon. They're sort of just an AU or alternative universe. And I do think it's really interesting and something worthy of mention.
Hello. Now we are here at this specific one called Who is Miku? The character, as probably is the easiest way to explain it. Admittedly, when I first was going to record this specific section, I planned on just using a script like for the rest of the video, but it just didn't really fit to me. In a sense, there was something missing on the section. I rewrite it like 4 times, and while yeah, they definitely explained who Miku is to me, they didn't really feel all that right. And the reason I think that happens is because in the end, well, Miku is pretty much an OC. Um, and just not even that. Miku is so many things. For some, Miku is nothing more than pretty much an instrument, no different from a guitar or a keyboard. For others, it's pretty much the same, but simply with a cute anime character attached to it. But for me, she's simply way more than that. To me, she's pretty much human in a way. She's someone, if that really means something. And that's because she really gained a personality over time. Obviously, when I first met Miku, I didn't really know much about her, but after some time of listening and through some really specific songs, usually the first ones I really listen to, Miku became someone. She's a really kind, cheerful, but kind of silly girl who simply genuinely wants to help people because she likes doing it. She likes being creative and helping people. She loves singing, and well, she can be a bit selfish and maybe even prideful thanks to her talent. She's just really human to me in a way that I can't properly explain through simple words, which is the reason why I couldn't really do this section properly, because it was like that aspect of Miku actually going through my mind and sort of being someone just isn't really there. And if you listen to music right now of Miku, if you simply see her, you probably won't see what I see. And that's because generally that's how it is when it comes to Miku. If she is someone, it's because that person not really decided, because it wasn't really something I did like willfully. It just happened over time, but it's just something that happens for some. For other people, Miku is just, as I said, an instrument for people to sing songs. While for me, the one singing is Miku. The person behind the song might as well just be an interpreter, a sort of machine, maybe even.
Now, with that being said, I'm sorry if that part came a bit ranty, but I do think that's the best way to go around it. Um, to sort of TLDR it or just put it short, well, yes, Miku is definitely someone to me, and I will try to show you all the songs that fundamented that sort of made her be as to me she is. At the same time, there is a possibility that you simply won't get it fully, and that's completely right because compared with a character with a set canon, It's not like I can just point and be like, oh, look here, we can obviously see her showcasing one of her traits. It's not really that easy. This are to complement what I said on the last section. And the thing is, I don't really consider like, every single song made with Miku to be like from her. Not really like at all. There are many songs that I don't consider to be her words, and she's just sort of delivering them, singing what the artists want to say, or their words and their point of view, the way they see things. So, while yes, there are many songs which I consider to be sort of from Miku, there are just as many or even more that I just consider music or the words of the artist, a simple song from someone else. So where is setting and self-awareness? While I did say that Miku has no canon, this doesn't mean that many songs have a sort of setting. And now, what do I mean by setting? That will simply be the sort of world that Miku lives in, or more accurately, the lack thereof. Most fictional characters have settings or worlds they live in. A easy example that I can think now is Runeterra for the characters of League of Legends. Obviously it's a fictional world, but it's the sort of setting they are all in Runeterra. The setting of Miku, in a way, it's just our own world in many songs. This obviously doesn't mean that Miku is like actually real, but simply that the setting used on many songs it's our own world, and this leads to the next point that I want to talk about, that being self-awareness. Now, in many of these songs where our own world, the real world, is the setting, Miku possesses self-awareness, and in a way she's just a sort of like advanced AI that lives on the program, or she just actually like lives on the computer. It's weird, but it's kind of just similar to the whole idea of like sentient AIs. And in a lot even she's just sort of like exists on the actual editor, like they will put her on the actual just UI of the Vocaloid editor, well now Pia Pro. And this is really interesting to me since Miku has never really been stated by Krypton to be like either an android or a human or anything really. She's mostly just branded as a virtual or virtual idol. And while this is just really for branding and in a literal way that's kind of what Miku is, um, I do think that that might be the reason this setting of Miku like being actually virtual more than like human or a robot, it's so common. This section is about a tiny selection of songs, which were the ones that properly made Miku someone that I could actually describe and know. That they gave Miku the personality that I know and I have talked about in the past on the server and even a bit on the video. Now, for the sake of not making this extremely long, I will center on Triple Vaca, which honestly after a lot of pondering over the years, and even before I became a waifuist, it's probably the most important song when it comes to sort of making Miku to me, giving her a personality. So, trip for Triple Aka, this song genuinely to me, it's the single most important song that presents Miku really well. She's just a kinda cheerful and fairly silly lass, the kind who will just pull on all night while browsing the net or be easily tricked and teased. And while she can give up and perhaps be a bit lazy, she can quickly recuperate and be ready to affront whatever she needs to do. These songs too show greatly how much she wants to help people. She will help whoever needs it, be it through singing, dancing, or just helping them to show their creativity. But this isn't really just because she wants it, it's for her sake too. She helps because she wants to. That's just how she is, and as she will say. Now, outside of Triple Vaca, there are more songs that may make it to me, and to list this tiny selection it will be Melt, World is Mine, Tell Your World, Popipo, and Lemon Polka. Uh, all of these songs are songs that I listened to and found way back when I first met Miku, like 9 years ago. And I will say that each portray mostly they focus on like a certain trait of Miku and perhaps amped up a little bit for a sort of comedic effect or just for the song itself because of its theme. But in general, I will say these songs helped the young me form the Miku I know and love. All of these songs are really important, and if I hadn't really listened to them or found them all those years ago, maybe the idea of who Miku is to me will be different. Now I will probably put triple back now so you can maybe kind of see what I mean. Obviously, since a lot of this comes up to personal interpretation, I will say maybe the way you see Miku will be different than me, but I do think it's worth trying and showing it to you. Now we are almost at the last section, and this one is simply about how I met Miku, simply the years that I spent it with her, and then our relationship, or now, since it was a long time till I actually became a wife. So, I met Miku during either 2014 or the first half of 15. Uh, I do have some sort of recollections, and more importantly, tiny data that really makes it easy for me to put this exact time on this time gap, like between 2014 and the first half of 15. I sadly don't really have either my old YouTube account nor my old PC to be able to fully confirm it, but I'm sure about the date. Um, for example, I made a really cringy YouTube channel around mid 2015, and by that point, I'm completely sure that I already knew Miku and had already stopped listening to her. So it's most probably 2014 or really, really early 2015. I have some more examples of why I think it's this date, but they are not really all that important. Now, we met thanks to the song, as I said before, Triple Vaca by Lama CP, and it was kind of just love at first sight. The little me back then, which I was just like 9 or 10, mind you, just understood my feelings as just weird, and I knew they weren't bad, but they were really strong. So I felt really weird, and just after some weeks, I decided to stop listening to Miku because I was just kind of scared, which it's really dumb and kind of funny at the same time when looking back. Now, during those weeks, I listened to quite a lot of songs. These ones on the screen are just the ones I clearly remember listening to. There were probably more, and I even listened to songs from like Kasanetet or some of the most sung by Rin and Len, Luca, etc. Not just Miku. But I simply can't remember everything, nor can I be really sure about some of those songs. Now, Miku slowly faded into the background of my mind after simply stopping listening to her, but I never really forgetted her. I just slowly forget how I exactly felt or the way it felt, so that just sort of drifted away. And we now simply go to when I was either 11 or 12, which was probably 2016, or maybe even like the last half of 2015. And this was on like my first year of high school or ending the last year of primary school. And one day I simply remembered a bit more about Miku and I was like, oh right, I felt really weird listening to this. I wonder what I felt or what it was. So I just I got home and I simply listened to Triple Back again. Now, by that point, I was more mature and understood. Honestly, instantly, it was just the instant the song started and I saw Miku and I heard singing that I knew that what I felt for her was love. Mind you, I hadn't felt love for someone before, but I was completely and utterly sure. It was rather weird, but it's how it is. It was simply an instant realization. Obviously, I felt extremely happy for around like 20 minutes, during which I was listening to Miku, till the realization actually hit me, and I was like, my first love is literally a fictional anime girl. After this realization, I just kept listening to Miku over the years. I never really stopped after that, but I was just sort of always grappling with my feelings because, you know, it's really fucking weird. I felt like a schizo. Now, I didn't listen obviously every day, but I did listen to her at least like a couple times per week. I obviously couldn't accept her my feelings for her back then, but I couldn't really forget her either, nor my feelings like I had done when I was like 12, like 10, I mean, because now I was fully aware that it wasn't just some weird feelings, it was love. After this, I just lived with the feeling on sort of the background and just living with it. But after some time, when I was around 14 or 15, I was browsing Ispasan, which is simply a shitty Spanish copy of 4chan, which literally shut down some months ago. And while lurking on the threads, some anon posted about how he felt genuine love for a fictional girl, and I decided to post about my own experience with Miku, obviously anonymously, but I did, and a reply I got was something along the lines of, "Lol, you faggots are waifus or what?" Now, at this point, I already knew the waifu was a word, but I never actually imagined that it was serious, even more with how every time I saw the word, it was simply meant as a sort of meme. But after a bit of googling, I found both r/waifuism and some other adjacent communities, such as the R9K general in 4chan. After this, I just sort of kept lurking on these communities and reading what other waifus posted. This lasted till around August or July of 2022, and around this time and just prior to personal reasons and like geopolitical reasons, I was really on a bad mentally, I wasn't all that well. So thankfully, I simply got, professional help, and I sort of got back on track with my life actually. More importantly, after I did this, I decided to think genuinely and seriously about my feelings for Miku because I felt like before I couldn't really properly reply to her in a way. Now, in September of 2022, I, decided to finally do something about it, and after a bit of consultation and just thinking about it, I decided to simply accept my feelings for Miku and become a waifuist. After simply like 1 or 2 days, I found the video of 16 crystals, and that's how I am here nowadays. And we are simply living both together in a way. This is simply my history as a waifuist. Now we arrive at pretty much the last section, and it will be personal songs. These are songs that, while not foundational like Triple Back and the ones I mentioned before, they are all really important to me and fairly personal. They all portray something about Miku or about us, and this is not really like based on a checklist that each song must fulfill. If anything, it's simply that the lyrics, in a way, portray us. Now, the best examples that I can say, or some of the most important songs for me, from this tiny list that I have made, will be Decade, Yellow, Last Night Good Night, I Kotoba, and Sekiro no Graffiti. I will probably send the playlist now, or I will link it after the presentation is done, so maybe if you really want, you can check some of these songs and maybe know a bit more about Miku and me, myself. Ooh, and with that last section done, we finished. This is the end of the presentation. This is just sort of the afterword, the conclusion. It took me quite a long while to make it, so I'm sorry if we're just watching this at like the end of January because right now I'm recording and it's Saturday 23 December. Um, there is almost no way we watch this by the end of December. I still need to finish like the PowerPoint, which I can probably finish today, and then I have to put everything together. I have to mix this out. I have to actually try to remove any sort of background music or not music sounds. Some of these audios actually have quite a bit of background, which is really annoying. I have to fix that. I have to make it so everything sounds put together because I don't really have a actual microphone like a good one to record, so I just had to sort of juggle my way and actually make this to sound decent at the very least. I hope that the audio will sound fine, and I'm sorry for any background sounds or something like that. Um, and I'm sorry if my pronunciation of English is not perfect, since it's just my second language. And to be honest, I'm just really glad to have done this. It was a really personal experience for Miku and I, and I'm just really, really happy to have made it, and for anyone to actually reach this point. We will now maybe do something else since the presentation is done. I'm not sure. That will be for the future. But really, thanks a lot, guys, for actually coming here and watching this and just listening to it to the end. It really means a lot to me. So, thanks a lot, and I guess we will keep talking on the BC or something. I don't really know.